The basement door was supposed to be locked, but what I found down there destroyed our family. I stood at the top of those wooden stairs, my hand shaking on the doorknob that shouldn't have turned. For 3 weeks, I'd been hearing sounds from below our kitchen. Soft footsteps, water running through pipes that Frank swore were just settling. A woman's laughter that he said was the television from next door, even though our nearest neighbor was half an acre away. But Frank was on a business trip to Atlanta, had been gone for 2 days, and right now, at 2:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, I heard someone crying in my basement. Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. The crying stopped. I heard footsteps rushing away from the stairs. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I thought I might faint right there. At 69 years old, I'd survived raising 4 children, burying my parents, and 45 years of marriage to Frank Washington. I was not about to let fear keep me from my own basement. I flipped on the light switch. Nothing happened. The bulb must have burned out, I thought. But when I took that first step down, I saw a faint glow coming from the far corner, past the water heater and the boxes of Christmas decorations. "I'm calling the police!" I shouted, my voice cracking. "I have a gun." I didn't have a gun, never believed in them. But whoever was down there didn't need to know that. "Please don't." A young woman's voice, soft, terrified. "Please, Mrs. Washington. I can explain." She knew my name. I took 3 more steps down, gripping the railing so tight my knuckles went white. The basement came into view, and I had to blink twice to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. The entire back half of my basement had been converted into an apartment. A real apartment. There was a kitchenette with a small refrigerator humming quietly, a bed with a pink comforter, a television mounted on the wall, a bathroom with the door half open, rugs on the concrete floor, lamps giving off that warm glow I'd seen from the stairs. And standing in the middle of it all was a young black woman, maybe 25, with her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She wore sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt. Her eyes were red from crying. "Who are you?" I whispered. "My name is Chloe," she said. "I'm so sorry you found out this way." My legs went weak. I sat down hard on the stairs. "You're Frank's mistress." "No," she shook her head quickly. "No, it's not like that. Mrs. Washington, I'm his daughter." The world tilted sideways. I gripped the stair railing to keep from falling. His daughter? Frank doesn't have a daughter. We have 4 sons. 4. He had an affair with my mother 25 years ago, in Birmingham. She died when I was 10, and I went into foster care. Frank didn't know about me until last year. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. Instead, I stood up on shaky legs and walked down the rest of the stairs. Up close, I could see it. She had Frank's nose, his high cheekbones, the same dimple in her left cheek when she tried to smile nervously. "Why are you living in my basement?" My voice came out flat, dead. "I'm hiding," she said, "from my ex-husband." "He's dangerous, Mrs. Washington. Frank said I could stay here until it was safe." I looked around the apartment again. This hadn't been built in a week. The drywall was painted, the carpet was installed, there was a mini-split air conditioning unit in the corner. "How long have you been here?" 3 months. 3 months. I'd been walking around my house for 3 months while my husband's secret daughter lived beneath my feet. That's when I saw it. In the corner, partially hidden behind a curtain, was a white crib. Baby blankets. A changing table with diapers stacked neatly. "Are you pregnant?" I asked. Chloe put her hand on her stomach. 5 months. I had to get out of there. I turned and climbed those stairs faster than I'd moved in years. Behind me, Chloe called my name, but I didn't stop. I made it to the kitchen, grabbed my purse and headed straight for my car. I drove to Greater Mount Zion Baptist Church without thinking. It was Tuesday, so there wouldn't be service, but Pastor Reeves kept office hours. I'd known her for 20 years. If anyone could help me make sense of this, it was her. The church parking lot was empty except for Pastor Reeves's old Buick. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, trying to control my breathing, trying to figure out what to even say. My phone rang. Frank's number. I sent it to voicemail. Inside, the church smelled like lemon polish and old hymnals. That smell usually brought me peace. Today, it just reminded me of all the Sundays I'd sat in the third pew with Frank, holding his hand, thinking we were blessed. Linda? Pastor Reeves came out of her office, her reading glasses perched on her nose. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, but she had a presence that filled any room. "Child, you look like you've seen a ghost. Come sit down." In her office, surrounded by books and pictures of church members, I told her everything. The noises, the basement apartment, Chloe, the baby coming. Pastor Reeves listened without interrupting, her hands folded on her desk. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "Linda, I need to ask you something. In 45 years, has Frank ever given you reason not to trust him?" I thought back. Really thought back. No. He's been a good husband. A good father. He works hard. Provides for us. "Then maybe," Pastor Reeves said gently, "there's more to this story. Maybe this girl is in real danger, and Frank was trying to protect her. And maybe he was trying to find the right time to tell you. By hiding her in our basement for 3 months? I'm not saying he handled it right. I'm saying don't make decisions while you're this angry and hurt. Go home, talk to this girl, really talk to her. Then wait for Frank to come back and hear his side." My phone rang again. Frank. Again, I ignored it. "Linda," Pastor Reeves said, "I know you're hurting, but running away won't give you answers." She was right. She was always right. I drove home slowly, practicing what I would say to Chloe. But when I pulled into my driveway, there was a police car parked in front of my house. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, stood on her porch watching. 2 police officers were at my front door. The shorter one, a black woman with her hair in a tight bun, turned when she heard my car. "Mrs. Washington?" she called out. I got out on shaky legs. "Yes? What's wrong?" "We got a 911 call from this address. A young woman said she was being held against her will in the basement." My mouth went dry. She's not being held. She's staying there. It's complicated." The taller officer, a white man with gray at his temples, put his hand on his belt near his radio. "Ma'am, we need to check the basement. We need to make sure everyone is safe." I couldn't breathe. Chloe had called the police on me? On Frank? "Of course. Come in." I led them through my house, the house Frank and I had bought 30 years ago when his construction business started doing well. Past the kitchen table where we'd eaten thousands of meals, past the living room where we'd watched our boys grow up, down to that basement door that I'd left wide open. The officers went down first. I followed. Chloe was sitting on the bed, her face pale. "Ma'am," the female officer said to her, "are you safe? Are you here of your own free will?" Chloe looked at me, then at the officers. "I need to tell you the truth. All of it." The male officer pulled out a notepad. "We're listening." Chloe took a deep breath. "My name is Chloe Martinez. I'm not Frank Washington's daughter. I'm an undercover agent with the FBI." I actually laughed. It came out high and hysterical. "What?" She stood up, moved to the dresser, and pulled out a badge and ID from the top drawer. The officers examined them, and their entire demeanor changed. They stood straighter, more alert. "The man you know as Frank Washington," Chloe said, looking at me with pity in her eyes, "is not who he says he is. His real name is Franklin Moore. He's a con artist who's been running a marriage scam for over 50 years. I sat down on the bed before I fell down. "That's impossible." We've been tracking him for 3 years, Chloe continued. He's married to 12 women simultaneously across 8 states. He marries wealthy widows or divorced women, gains access to their finances, and slowly drains their accounts. Then he fakes his death or disappears. No. I shook my head. No, we've been married for 45 years. I've known Frank since I was 24. We have 4 sons together. Mrs. Washington, the female officer said gently, when was the last time you checked your bank accounts? 2 weeks ago. Frank handled most of our finances. He said it was because I'd worked so hard raising our boys that I deserved to relax. To not worry about money. The room spun. I thought about our savings account. The retirement fund, Frank said, was growing nicely. The investment properties he managed. The life insurance policy he'd just increased last year. How much? I whispered. How much did he take? Chloe sat down next to me. We think close to $3 million from you alone. He's been doing it slowly, over years, so you wouldn't notice. Small transfers, fake investment opportunities, convincing you to put assets in his name for tax purposes. $3 million. 45 years of my life. 4 sons who thought their father was a good man. Where is he now? I asked. We don't know, Chloe admitted. He left 2 days ago. We thought he was going to his apartment in Georgia, where another wife lives. But he never showed up. We think he knew we were closing in. The male officer's radio crackled. He stepped away to answer it. When he came back, his face was grim. We just got a hit on Frank Washington's credit card. Gas station in Memphis. 3 hours ago. He's running, Chloe said. What about the other wives? I asked. Do they know? We've been contacting them today, the female officer said. You're the primary wife, Mrs. Washington, the longest marriage. We think you're the key to bringing him down. My phone rang again. Frank. Without thinking, I answered. Linda, baby. His voice came through, warm and familiar, like it had been for 45 years. I've been trying to reach you. Is everything okay? I looked at Chloe, at the officers, at this basement apartment that represented everything I didn't know about my own life. Frank, I said, my voice surprisingly steady, I think we need to talk. Of course, sweetheart. Is this about the business trip? I know I've been gone a lot lately. I'm in the basement, Frank. I found your apartment. Silence. Long enough that I thought he'd hung up. Then, Linda, I can explain everything. The FBI is here. Another pause. Then Frank's voice changed. It went cold, flat, like a stranger. You called the police on me? After everything I've done for you? Everything you've done? You stole from me. You lied to me for 45 years. I gave you a good life, he said. 4 sons, a nice house. You never wanted for anything. Because it was my money, I was shouting now. Money I inherited from my parents. Money from my teaching pension. Money you stole. Our money, he corrected. We're married, Linda. What's yours is mine. The female officer held out her hand for the phone. I gave it to her. Mr. Washington, this is Officer Bryant with the Memphis Police Department. We need you to turn yourself in. I couldn't hear what he said, but Officer Bryant's expression didn't change. Sir, we have agents on the way to your location. You can do this the easy way or... She stopped talking, looked at her phone. He hung up. Chloe stood up. We need to move fast. If he's spooked, he'll disappear. He's done it before. What about my sons? I asked. What am I supposed to tell my boys? The truth, Chloe said softly. They deserve that. My phone buzzed. A text from my oldest son, Deshaun. Mom, Dad just called me. He says you're trying to frame him. Says you're having a breakdown. What's going on? Then another text from my youngest. Jerome. Mom, did you really call the cops on Dad? He's crying on the phone. This is crazy. And another from Kendrick. Whatever's happening, we need to talk as a family before you do something you'll regret. And finally, Terrence, I'm on my way over. Don't say anything else to the police until I get there. They didn't believe me. My own sons thought I was losing my mind. Officer Bryant's phone rang. She answered, listened, and her face went pale. When? Are you sure? She hung up and looked at Chloe. We have a problem. The real Frank Washington, the man whose identity your suspect stole 45 years ago, his body was just found in a construction site in Birmingham. He's been dead this whole time. I couldn't process it, couldn't understand it. The man I'd married, the father of my children, had killed someone and stolen their entire life. There's more, Officer Bryant said. We just got word from our office. Frank, or whatever his real name is, just cleaned out 3 bank accounts, took $800,000. Your accounts, Mrs. Washington. Chloe moved to her laptop, started typing frantically. He's had this planned. He knew we were getting close. The Memphis thing was probably a decoy. Then where is he really? I asked. Chloe pulled up security footage on her screen. Mrs. Washington, I need you to look at this. Is this your car? She turned the laptop toward me. It showed my silver Honda Civic pulling into the church parking lot. Me getting out, going inside. Then, 10 minutes later, someone else getting into my car. A woman. Blonde. Young. Who is that? I whispered. Chloe enhanced the image. That's Victoria Chen. Your neighbor. She's also married to Frank. Has been for 6 years. I thought I might vomit. Mrs. Chen. The woman I'd shared recipes with. Who I'd invited to Thanksgiving dinner. Who'd helped me plant roses in my garden last spring. She cloned your car keys last month, Chloe continued. When she came over to borrow sugar. They're in your car right now, heading to the Canadian border. Officer Bryant was already on her radio, calling it in. We need all units. Silver Honda Civic, license plate. A crash upstairs made us all freeze. Then my oldest son's voice. Mom, where are you? All 4 of my sons were coming down the basement stairs, and they stopped dead when they saw the apartment, saw Chloe, saw the police officers. What is this? Deshawn asked. He was 43, a lawyer, my firstborn. He looked at me like I was a stranger. Your father, I said, my voice breaking, is not who we thought he was. Deshawn stepped fully into the basement, his eyes scanning everything. Behind him came Kendrick, Jerome, and Terrence, my boys, my 4 sons who I'd raised, who I'd sacrificed everything for. Somebody better start talking, Deshawn said, his lawyer voice coming out. Right now. Officer Bryant stepped forward. Sir, I'm going to need you all to stay calm. Calm? Jerome cut her off. He was my baby, 38 years old, but always the hothead. We get calls from Dad saying Mom's lost her mind, and we show up to cops in the basement? Your father is a wanted fugitive, Chloe said quietly. All 4 of them started talking at once, shouting, demanding to see badges, demanding to know what charges, demanding to know why their mother would betray their father like this. Boys! I yelled over them. Listen to me! They stopped, looked at me, and I saw it in their eyes. They didn't believe me. They believed Frank. Mom, Terrence said, the gentlest of my sons. Dad said you've been acting strange, paranoid. He said you accused him of having an affair, and when he denied it, you made up all this other stuff. He's been stealing from me for 45 years, I said. He's married to 11 other women. Kendrick pulled out his phone. Dad, we're here. Yeah, she's saying... He looked at me, pity in his eyes. Dad wants to talk to you. Mrs. Washington, Officer Bryant said urgently. We have units en route to intercept your vehicle at the Canadian border, but we need you to... The Canadian border? Deshawn interrupted. What vehicle? Your neighbor Mrs. Chen is in Mom's car with Frank, Chloe explained. She's also married to him. Jerome laughed. Actually laughed. Mrs. Chen? She's like 70 years old. She's 52, Chloe said. And she's been married to the man you call Frank for 6 years. This is insane, Kendrick said. Mom, you need help. Professional help. That's when I noticed it. All 4 of my sons were wearing new watches, expensive ones. Rolex watches that cost more than their yearly salaries. Where did you get those watches? I asked. They exchanged glances. Dad gave them to us, Deshawn said, for Father's Day. Said business was good. Business, I repeated. What business? Your father retired from construction 15 years ago. His investment business, Terrence said. Mom, you know this. He manages real estate portfolios. I looked at Chloe. Did you know about this? She was already typing on her laptop. What are the names of these investment companies? Washington Holdings, Deshawn said. Washington Property Management. Washington Financial Solutions. Chloe's face went white. Those are shell companies. Mrs. Washington, your sons have been invested in businesses that don't exist. The money they put in... We didn't put money in, Jerome interrupted. Dad put money in for us. From the family trust. Our inheritance. The room tilted. What family trust? The trust you and Dad set up, Kendrick said slowly. 10 years ago. You both signed the papers. I never signed any papers for a trust. Officer Bryant's radio crackled again. She stepped away, listened, and came back looking grim. The car was found abandoned at a rest stop outside Memphis. They're gone. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I'm sorry it had to be this way, Linda. You were always my favorite. The money will take care of the boys. Don't come looking for me. F. Then another text, this time with an attachment. A video file. I opened it with shaking hands. It was Frank sitting in what looked like a hotel room. Linda, by the time you see this, I'll be gone. I want you to know that I did love you, in my own way. You gave me 4 strong sons, a good home, but this was always the plan. The trust fund I set up for the boys, that's their cut. $2 million split 4 ways. They've earned it for being good sons. Deshawn grabbed my phone, watched the rest. Frank continued. Boys, your mother is going to tell you terrible things about me. Don't listen. She's sick, paranoid. I've been documenting it for years. Check the safe deposit box at First National Bank, Box 442. You'll find all the evidence you need to have her declared incompetent. It's for her own good. The video ended. All 4 of my sons were staring at me. There is no trust, I said desperately. There is no $2 million. He's lying to you. The safe deposit box, Deshawn said. We can check that right now. Officer Bryant shook her head. Gentlemen, your father is a con artist. Everything he's told you is designed to... Let's go to the bank, Kendrick said. Right now, we'll see what's in that box, and then we'll know the truth. 20 minutes later, all of us were at First National Bank. The manager, a thin white man named Mr. Peterson, looked nervous when we all crowded into his office. I need access to safe deposit box 442, Deshawn said. Frank Washington's box. Mr. Peterson typed on his computer. His face went pale. I'm sorry, but that box was emptied this morning, at 9:47 a.m. By who? I asked. According to our records, by you, Mrs. Washington. That's impossible. I was at church this morning. Mr. Peterson turned his monitor around. Security footage showed a woman who looked exactly like me, walking into the bank, signing papers, accessing the box, and leaving with a briefcase. That's not me, I whispered. Chloe leaned in close to the screen. That's a professional. Look at the walk, the posture. That's someone trained to impersonate. While we're here, Officer Bryant said, can you pull up Mrs. Washington's accounts? Mr. Peterson's hands shook as he typed. Mrs. Washington, I need to inform you that all of your accounts were closed this morning. The funds were transferred to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. How much? My voice didn't sound like my own. The total was $2.7 million. Jerome sat down hard in a chair. Mom, you had almost $3 million. I inherited money from my parents. I saved my whole life. And your father, the man you're defending, just stole all of it. Deshawn was still staring at the screen. The woman in that video? If that's not Mom, then who? Chloe pulled up a photo on her phone. Is this her? It was Mrs. Chen, Victoria. But she looked different. Her hair was styled like mine. She wore clothes similar to what I usually wore. Even her makeup made her look older, more like me. How long has this been planned? Terrence asked quietly. Years, Chloe said. These operations take years to set up. Your father, or whoever he really is, has been planning this exit strategy for a long time. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from my sister, Denise. Linda, I just got served with papers. A lawsuit. From you. What are you talking about? You're suing me for the $50,000 I borrowed last year. It says I forged your signature on the loan agreement, and you want the money back plus damages. Denise, I never filed any lawsuit. The sheriff's deputy is standing in my living room right now with a court summons. It has your signature, Linda. What is happening? I hung up, looked at Officer Bryant. He's destroying everything, everyone I love. It's what he does, Chloe said. He isolates his victims, turns their family against them, makes them look crazy or vindictive. Then he disappears. Deshawn's phone rang, then Kendrick's, then Jerome's and Terrence's, all at the same time. They each answered, and I watched their faces change as they listened. That was my bank, Deshawn said slowly. Apparently, I co-signed on a loan 6 months ago for $200,000. The first payment is overdue. I got the same call, Kendrick said, but my loan is for $150,000. Jerome and Terrence nodded. They'd gotten the same calls, different amounts, all overdue. The watches, I said. He gave you expensive watches and made you think you had money in a trust. So you'd live above your means, rack up debt. Why? Terrence asked. So you'd be too busy dealing with your own financial crisis to help your mother, Chloe said. It's brilliant, actually. Cruel, but brilliant. Officer Bryant's phone rang. She answered, listened, and cursed under her breath. We have a bigger problem. The woman impersonating Mrs. Washington? She filed a missing persons report this afternoon, claiming that Linda Washington has dementia and wandered away from home. How can she file a report as me when I'm standing right here? I asked. Because as far as the system knows, you filed it, Officer Bryant said. And now there's an alert out for a confused elderly woman who needs medical attention. They're going to try to have her committed, Chloe said. It's the final step. Once she's declared incompetent, they can access anything he missed. Deshawn looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time since we'd gotten to the bank. Mom, I need you to be honest with me. Have you been feeling confused lately? Forgetting things? No, I said firmly. Because Dad sent me videos, he continued. From the security cameras in the house. You talking to yourself, looking for things that were right in front of you, getting lost coming home from church. What security cameras? We don't have security cameras. Dad installed them 6 months ago, Jerome said. He showed us. Said it was for your safety. I felt like I was drowning. Those videos are fake, or edited, or... Mom, Terrence said gently, the way you talk to a child. Maybe we should take you to a doctor, just to get checked out. I don't need a doctor, I was shouting now. I need you to believe me. The bank manager's desk phone rang. He answered it, and his face went from pale to gray. Mrs. Washington, I need to inform you that we've received a court order. Your house is being foreclosed on. Apparently you took out a reverse mortgage 3 months ago and haven't made the required payments. I never took out a reverse mortgage? The documents have your signature and a notarized statement from your doctor saying you were of sound mind when you signed. Chloe grabbed my arm. We need to leave. Now. Why? Officer Bryant asked. Because this has all happened too fast. The bank accounts, the lawsuit, the missing persons report, the foreclosure, it's all hitting at once. That means someone is watching, coordinating. We rushed out of the bank. In the parking lot, I saw her. Victoria Chen, sitting in a black Mercedes across the street. She was on the phone watching us. When she saw me looking, she smiled and waved. That's her, I said. That's the woman impersonating me. Officer Bryant started toward the car, but Victoria drove away calmly. Not speeding, not panicking, like she had all the time in the world. My phone rang. Frank. Don't answer it, Chloe warned. I answered anyway, put it on speaker. Linda, Frank's voice was cheerful. I heard you're having a rough day. Where are you? Somewhere safe, with all of our money. Well, my money now. You know, I really did love you in the beginning. You were so trusting, so eager to believe that a man like me could love a woman like you. A woman like me? Plain, simple, desperate for affection. It made everything so easy. I looked at my sons. At least now they were hearing this, hearing who their father really was. The boys will be fine, Frank continued. Once they get over the shock of being broke and in debt. Character building, really. As for you, Linda, I'd check yourself into a nice facility. Make it easy on everyone. Because fighting me, you'll lose. I've been doing this longer than you've been alive. How old are you really? I asked. He laughed. 72. I started this when I was 20. Linda, you're victim number 47. And every single one before you lost everything. You will too. The FBI is looking for you. The FBI has been looking for me for 30 years. They've never caught me. They never will. Enjoy poverty, sweetheart. You've earned it. He hung up. My son stood there in shock, finally seeing, finally believing. Mom, Deshawn said, his voice breaking. I'm so sorry. We need to move, Chloe said urgently. Mrs. Washington, do you have somewhere safe you can go? Family? Friends? I thought of my sister, who now thought I was suing her. My church, where everyone knew me as Frank's devoted wife. My neighbors, one of whom was literally married to my husband. I have nowhere, I realized. He's taken everything. My money. My home, my reputation. Even my own sons didn't believe me. We believe you now, Mom, Jerome said. Now, I repeated, after I've lost everything. Officer Bryant's radio crackled. We need backup at 447 Maple Street. Domestic disturbance. Woman claiming someone stole her identity. That was my address. Victoria's at my house, I said. We drove there in a caravan, 3 police cars, my sons in Deshawn's SUV, and me riding with Chloe. When we pulled up, my front yard was full of people, neighbors, police, and Victoria Chen, crying hysterically on my front porch. She won't leave, Victoria sobbed to a female officer I didn't recognize. I just want to go home, and this woman keeps insisting she lives here. The woman Victoria was pointing at was standing on my lawn, and my heart stopped. It was me. Another woman who looked exactly like me, wearing my clothes, carrying my purse, screaming that Victoria was an imposter. What is happening? I whispered. Chloe's eyes were wide. He hired 2 impersonators, one to drain your accounts, one to take your place. I got out of the car. The fake me saw the real me, and her face went pale. She turned and ran. Straight into the arms of 2 more police officers. Mrs. Washington, the officer holding the fake me called out. Can you come identify this woman? Which Mrs. Washington? The officer with Victoria asked, confused. Victoria pointed at me. That's the imposter! She's been harassing me for weeks! I want her arrested! Deshawn stepped forward, pulling out his wallet. "Officers, I'm Mrs. Washington's son, Attorney Deshawn Washington. This woman," he pointed at Victoria, "is not my mother. This woman is." He pointed at me. But Victoria was ready. She pulled out a wallet, and from it, a photo. "These are my sons. My 4 boys." It was a picture of my sons. Recent. From Kendrick's wedding last year. But Victoria was photoshopped into where I had been standing, next to Frank. Terrence looked like he might be sick. "This is insane," the officer with the imposter me called out. "This woman has ID saying she's Linda Washington. Driver's license, credit cards, everything." "So do I said, pulling out my wallet. Officer Bryant stepped into the middle of the chaos. "Everyone needs to calm down. We can sort this out at the station." "I'm not going anywhere," Victoria sobbed. "This is my home. I've lived here for 45 years. A news van pulled up. Then another. Someone had called the media. A reporter rushed over with a camera. Ma'am, is it true there are 3 women all claiming to be Linda Washington?" And that's when I realized the truth. Frank hadn't just stolen my money and my identity. He'd made me into a spectacle, a joke, the crazy old woman with delusions. By the time the dust settled and the police figured out who was who, my reputation would be destroyed. I looked at Chloe. "He's going to get away with this, isn't he?" "Not if we're smarter," she said quietly. "Mrs. Washington, I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" I looked at my sons, at the circus my life had become, at the cameras and the police and the 2 women who'd stolen my face. "I don't have a choice," I said. Chloe smiled. "Actually, you do. You can give up, like he expects, or you can fight back. But I need to tell you something first. Something about who I really am and who I'm really working for. Because the FBI, that was a cover. The truth is so much bigger than you think." The police station was chaos. 3 women all claiming to be Linda Washington. My 4 sons trying to explain the impossible. Reporters camped outside. And me, sitting in an interrogation room with Chloe, waiting for answers. "I'm not FBI," Chloe said quietly, closing the door. "I'm with Interpol, International Criminal Police Organization. The man you know as Frank Washington is actually Christian Volkov. He's Russian, 72 years old, and he's wanted in 14 countries for marriage fraud totaling over $200 million. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. "We've been tracking him for 8 years, Chloe continued, "but he's a ghost. Changes names, faces, entire identities. The only constant is his pattern. Wealthy widows or divorcees, long-term marriages to establish trust. Then he vanishes with everything." "Why me?" I finally asked. "Why stay with me for 45 years? "Because you were perfect," Chloe said. "You had family money but lived modestly. You were respected in your community. Being married to you gave him legitimacy. He used your marriage as a foundation while running shorter cons on the side. The other wives? 12 that we know of. But Mrs. Washington, here's what Frank doesn't know. 6 months ago, one of his other wives contacted us. Her name is Patricia Moore. She's been married to him for 20 years, and she's been gathering evidence." Chloe pulled out her laptop and showed me photos, bank statements, recordings, documents, all meticulously organized. "Patricia is a forensic accountant," Chloe explained. "When she got suspicious, she started tracking everything. She found the shell companies, the offshore accounts, the fake identities, and she found something else. She pulled up a document, a birth certificate, for Christian Volkov Jr., born in 1978. "Frank has a son," Chloe said, "from his first marriage in Russia, before he started all of this. The son is legitimate. He's been looking for his father for 30 years. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because Christian Jr. is a prosecutor, in New York, and he's been helping us build a case. Mrs. Washington, we have enough evidence to put Frank away for the rest of his life. But we need one more thing." "What?" "We need you to testify, in court, tell your story. Because you're not just another victim, You're the key to everything. Your marriage produced 4 sons, DNA evidence that proves who Frank really is, financial records spanning 45 years. You're the one witness he can't explain away." There was a knock on the door. Officer Bryant stuck her head in. "Mrs. Washington, your sons are here, and you have visitors, a lot of them." In the main waiting area, I found more than my sons. Pastor Reeves was there. The entire church choir. My sister Denise. My neighbors from 3 streets over. The book club I'd been in for 20 years. The ladies from the community center where I volunteered. "Linda," Pastor Reeves said, pulling me into a hug. "We know the truth. Denise told us everything, and we're here to fight with you." My sister stepped forward. "I called an emergency meeting at the church. Told everyone what was happening. Linda, half the neighborhood is outside this police station right now." I looked out the window. She wasn't exaggerating. There had to be 75 people out there, holding signs. "We believe Linda. Justice for Mrs. Washington. Find Frank." Jerome came over, his eyes red. "Mom, we've been making calls. Everyone Dad ever did business with, everyone he knew. We're building a list of every lie he ever told." "The watches he gave us," Kendrick added. "We had them appraised. They're fake, cheap knockoffs, worth maybe $200 each." Terrence handed me a folder. "We went through the house, found his real office hidden in the attic. Mom, there are documents up there, passports with different names, marriage certificates, bank statements, everything." Deshawn's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face hardened. "That was Christian Volkov Jr., the prosecutor. He's flying in tonight. Says he has evidence that will blow this case wide open." "What evidence?" I asked. He wouldn't say over the phone, but he said his father made one mistake, one big mistake that's going to cost him everything. The next 3 weeks were a blur. More women came forward, wives from California, Texas, Florida, Michigan. Some had been married to Frank for 20 years, some for only 5. All of them had lost everything. Patricia Moore flew in from Arizona. She was 65, elegant, with silver hair and fierce eyes. "I lost $8 million to that man," she told me over coffee. "But I got something more valuable. I got angry." She showed me her evidence, years of documentation, photos of Frank with different women, recordings of phone calls where he coached people on how to forge signatures, bank transfers to dozens of different accounts. "How did you get all this?" I asked. "I hired a private investigator when I got suspicious," Patricia said. "Cost me $50,000. Best money I ever spent. Your husband is sloppy, Linda. He thinks he's smarter than everyone else. That's going to be his downfall." Christian Jr. arrived with a briefcase full of documents. He looked exactly like Frank. Same nose, same eyes. But where Frank's eyes were cold, Christian's were full of pain. "My father abandoned my mother when I was 3, he told me. She died thinking he'd loved her once. I've spent my whole life tracking him down, not for revenge, for justice." "What's the evidence you mentioned?" Deshawn asked. Christian smiled. "My father's biggest con wasn't the money. It was the identity he stole. Frank Washington, the real Frank Washington, didn't just die. He was murdered in 1980, and my father was sloppy. He left DNA evidence at the crime scene. We just matched it 6 months ago." The courtroom was packed, every seat filled. My sons in the front row, the other wives scattered throughout, church members, friends, reporters. And at the prosecutor's table, Christian Jr. and the district attorney. Frank was led in wearing an orange jumpsuit. He'd been arrested in Mexico 3 days ago, trying to board a plane to Russia. When he saw me, he smiled. That same charming smile that had made me fall in love with him 45 years ago. The judge, an older black woman named Judge Matthews, called the court to order. "We're here today for the preliminary hearing in the case of the People versus Christian Volkov, also known as Frank Washington, also known as Franklin Moore. Mr. Volkov, how do you plead to charges of murder, fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy? Not guilty, Your Honor, Frank said. His voice was calm, confident. Christian Jr. stood. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to call our first witness. Linda Washington. I walked to the stand on shaking legs, put my hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. Mrs. Washington, Christian Jr. said gently, how long were you married to the defendant? 45 years. Or I thought I was. Tell us about your marriage. I did. I told them everything. The courtship, the wedding, raising 4 sons, building a life together, trusting him with everything, never questioning, never doubting. When did you first become suspicious? Christian Jr. asked. 3 weeks ago, when I heard noises in my basement. I explained about finding Chloe, the apartment, the gradual unraveling of my entire life. Mrs. Washington, can you tell the court how much money you've lost? Everything. My inheritance, my pension, my savings. Almost $3 million. A gasp went through the courtroom. And your home? He forged my signature on a reverse mortgage. I'm being evicted next week. Frank's lawyer, a slick man in an expensive suit, stood for cross-examination. Mrs. Washington, isn't it true that you've been diagnosed with early-onset dementia? No. But we have medical records here that say, those are fake, I interrupted, just like everything else about my husband. Your Honor, the lawyer said, we have documentation from 3 different doctors. Those aren't real doctors, Chloe called out from the gallery. We checked. The medical licenses are fraudulent. Judge Matthews looked at the defense attorney. Is this true? The lawyer shuffled papers, suddenly less confident. Your Honor, I was provided these documents by my client. Call your next witness, the judge said coldly. Christian Jr. called Patricia Moore. Then another wife. Then another. Each one told the same story. The charm, the lies, the gradual theft, the devastating betrayal. After the 6th wife testified, Frank's lawyer asked for a recess. When we came back, Frank had a different look in his eyes. Cornered. Dangerous. Your Honor, Christian Jr. said, I'd like to enter into evidence DNA results from the 1980 murder of Frank Washington. He handed documents to the judge. She read them, and her expression hardened. The defendant's DNA is a perfect match for evidence found at the murder scene, Christian Jr. continued. Additionally, we have evidence that the defendant has been married to 47 different women over the past 50 years, stealing a combined total of $237 million. That's a lie, Frank shouted, standing up. Your Honor, this is a witch hunt. These women are bitter and vindictive. Sit down, Mr. Volkov, Judge Matthews ordered. I loved them, Frank continued, his face red. All of them. I gave them good lives. They were nothing before me. Mr. Volkov? That one, Frank pointed at me. She was a pathetic schoolteacher with no prospects. I made her respectable. I gave her sons, a home, everything. Deshawn stood up. You gave her nothing. It was her money, her home, her life. Bailiff, Judge Matthews said, remove the defendant. As they dragged Frank out, still shouting, he looked at me one last time. You'll never see a penny, Linda. I've hidden it too well. You'll die poor and alone. The courtroom erupted. Judge Matthews banged her gavel. Order! Order in this court! Christian Jr. turned to me and smiled. Don't worry, Mrs. Washington. We found the money. The trial took 3 months. Frank was found guilty on all counts: murder, fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. But the sentencing wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. Chloe and her team at Interpol had been working with forensic accountants. They traced every account, every transfer, every hidden dollar. Mrs. Washington, Chloe said, meeting me at a coffee shop 2 weeks after the sentencing, we recovered $180 million. It's being divided among all 47 victims based on what was stolen from each. How much is mine? I asked. $4.2 million. I nearly dropped my coffee. But he only stole $3 million from me. Interest, penalties, and punitive damages. Additionally, the house Frank put in his name, it's going back to you, along with 3 investment properties he bought with your money. I couldn't speak. There's more, Chloe said. Victoria Chen, the woman who impersonated you, she was arrested in Canada. She's being extradited to face charges. She'll serve 15 years minimum. And the other impersonator? She's cooperating with authorities. Turns out Frank recruited her from a struggling actress website. She thought it was a legitimate acting job. She's testifying against him in exchange for probation. Pastor Reeves organized a celebration at the church. The entire congregation came. The other wives flew in. We shared our stories, our pain, our survival. Patricia Moore stood up during the service. I want to say something. For 47 years, Christian Volkov thought he was the smartest person in every room. But he forgot one thing. He forgot that women are stronger than he ever imagined, especially when we stand together. The church erupted in applause. My sister Denise dropped the lawsuit, apologized for ever doubting me. I should have known you'd never hurt me, she said, crying. My sons gathered at my kitchen table one Sunday afternoon. The foreclosure had been reversed. My house was mine again. Chloe had helped me install real security cameras and new locks. Mom, Deshawn said, we want to apologize, formally. We should have believed you from the start. You believed your father, I said. That's not a crime. It is when we abandoned you, Jerome said. We're so sorry. We're going to make it right, Kendrick promised. We're paying back every penny of the debt he put in our names, and we're setting up a real trust. For your grandchildren, from money we earn ourselves. Terrence handed me an envelope. This is from all of us. Open it. Inside was a check for $50,000. We pooled our savings, he explained. It's not much compared to what you lost, but it's everything, I said, tears streaming down my face. Because it came from you. 3 months later, I got a call from Christian Jr. Mrs. Washington, I thought you should know. My father tried to escape from prison yesterday. He made it to the courtyard before the guards caught him. Is he okay? Christian Jr. was quiet for a moment. He's fine physically. But Mrs. Washington, something happened. When they brought him back to his cell, he broke down, started crying, asking for you. For me? He wants to apologize, to talk to you. I told him you'd never agree. But I'll do it, I said. The prison visiting room was cold and gray. Frank sat across from me, separated by thick glass. He'd aged 20 years in 6 months. His hair was completely white, his eyes hollow. Linda, he said, his voice breaking. I'm sorry. You're not, I said calmly. You're sorry you got caught. No, I mean, yes, but also... He wiped his eyes. I did love you. Maybe not the way a real husband should, but you were the only one who ever made me feel human. You're human, I said. You're just a terrible one. He laughed bitterly. The boys? Are fine. No thanks to you. I left them money. In the trust. The fake trust? The one that was supposed to destroy them financially? They're working hard and paying off the debts you left them. They're becoming real men. Again, no thanks to you. Frank put his hand against the glass. I know you won't forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know. Out of 47 women, you were the only one I actually respected. Then you have a funny way of showing respect, I said. I stood up to leave. Linda, wait. The money. There's more. I sat back down. What are you talking about? I didn't hide all of it in the accounts they found. There's another account, In Switzerland, $10 million. It's under a different name, but I can give you access. For you, not the others. Just you. I looked at this man I'd spent 45 years with. This stranger, this monster. Keep it, I said. I don't want anything from you that I didn't earn myself. I walked out of that prison with my head held high. 6 months after the trial, I started a foundation. The Linda Washington Foundation for Fraud Victims. Using my settlement money, I helped other women who'd been conned. Provided legal services, financial counseling, therapy. My sons worked with me. Deshaun handled the legal cases pro bono. Jerome managed the finances. Kendrick coordinated with law enforcement. Terrence ran the counseling programs. We helped 63 women in the first year alone. Patricia Moore became my co-director. Together, we traveled the country, telling our stories, warning others, teaching people how to spot the signs. On the 1-year anniversary of Frank's sentencing, I stood in front of my church congregation. A year ago, I lost everything. My money, my home, my identity, my dignity. But I gained something more valuable. I gained myself. The congregation stood and applauded. For 45 years, I was Frank Washington's wife. That defined me. But not anymore. Now I'm Linda Washington, survivor, advocate, fighter, and I'm not done yet. Pastor Reeves hugged me after the service. You know what the best revenge is, Linda? Living well. And you're doing that. 2 years later, I got a call from the prison. Frank had died. Heart attack. He was 74. I didn't cry. I felt nothing. He was just a ghost finally put to rest. At his funeral, only Christian Jr. and I attended. We stood over the grave in silence. I hated him my whole life, Christian Jr. said. But now that he's gone, I just feel empty. That's because hate takes energy, I said. And he's not worth our energy anymore. We walked away together, leaving Frank to his unmarked grave. I'm 71 now. I live in my house, the one I almost lost. My grandchildren visit every weekend. My sons have learned what real integrity looks like. My foundation has helped over 300 women. Sometimes people ask me if I regret those 45 years. If I wish I could get them back, I tell them no. Because those years taught me the most valuable lesson of all. You can survive anything. You can lose everything and still rebuild. You can be betrayed by the person you trust most and still learn to trust again. Frank thought he was destroying me, but he gave me something he never expected. He gave me my strength, my voice, my purpose, and that's worth more than any amount of money he could have stolen. That's all for today's story. If this touched your heart, please subscribe and share your own experiences below. We're all in this together.